29th of June 2024 at 2:38 p.m. in Snohomish, Washington, United States of America. Welcome once again to our Cosmic Journey, the Dev and Design podcast highlighting our journey on making the best, world's best astrology software. I'm designer Jake, that's engineer Trey. Hello, Trey.
Hi.
You were saying that you had a green screen today, and you've got nature's green screen. Can you talk a little bit
Nature's
about
green screen.
where are you right now? Why are you in nature right now?
I'm on the front porch.
You're literally right out that door, right down there.
And it's just a beautiful day, and I've got all this great lighting and this beautiful environment. A bird just like dive bombed me from my mom's seed feeder over here. So yeah, it's beautiful.
You have zhuzhed up your background. You're in nature. I've zhuzhed up a little bit of the podcast also. You'll see some of the zhuzhing, more of the zhuzhing coming up. Yeah, look at all these sparkles. Ooh, going this way.
So sparkly.
I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun today. To that point, this is the zhuzhed up agenda slide now. We're a little bit bigger. It makes a little bit more sense. Today's episode is called Moving Time in Space. It is episode 41. And you will note that I have a check-in not question today. So it is not a check-in question, but it is a check-in. Trey will be showing a demo. And because it's a podcast, we should talk about what we've learned. Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh, that's weird. I try not to learn new things.
Yeah, I don't like new things either. But it makes I think it makes a little bit of sense that we talk about. We'll see where the world takes us. But first, let me explain a little bit about this check-in, which is not a question. So in our household, we play. Actually, I'll go to 2 up on this one. In our household, we play a game that is called Today We Play Rhyme Time. And how do we play Today We Play Rhyme Time? The object of the game is from a cryptic clue to get a 2-word answer that has the same number of syllables that rhyme in order to, figure out what the phrase is. Mr. Henry, I'll give you an example right now. We've had this one before, but this is a different cryptic clue. So each word, of which there are 2 words, has 2 syllables. So 2 syllables on each of the 2 words. And the clue is nature crash whoopsie. And if you heard nature crash whoopsie, you would say...
I have no idea. I don't know.
Well, of course it would be thunder blunder. A nature crash would be thunder. A whoopsie would be blunder. They rhyme. They're both 2 syllables. Nature crash whoopsie, thunder blunder. But that is not your check-in question. Your check-in question today is this one. It is 1 syllable, moontime wildness. And I want you to think about this for a little bit. And you can ask me some questions if you would like to start on this one. But we will give the answer to this at the end of the episode. So 1 syllable, moontime wildness, Mr. Henry. Okay?
Okay.
Got it?
I probably won't know by the end of the episode either.
Well, we'll see how well you do, and we'll get back to you in this one.
The viewer is going to do a better job than me, for sure.
Hey, the viewer, listen to me for a second, the viewer. Let's get this right. Come on. Post your answers down below. We'll see if you're correct. We'll do that for engagement. Mr. Henry, do you want to talk a little bit about what we accomplished this cycle?
So the primary thing that we got done this cycle on the engineering side is reintroducing the ability to move through time with all of the new chart stuff and the ring cards, and it's very it's great. It is one more thing that has gotten us closer to actually functional astrology software. So homepage, everybody's seen all of this before. I'm going to go straight to the live chart for now, which everybody has also already seen. So we showed last time that we've got the ring cards, and these are sort of updating in real time. And if I open up the Cosmic Console, and this was something that we demoed a long time ago as well, and again, the console has not been updated to the new styles yet, so it looks a little bit out of kilter. However, you can search for an increment, and you can select them from the Cosmic Console, or it's also showing you the hotkeys here, which we'll show in a second. And when you move through time, so when you use one of these time increment or decrement commands, there's logic to determine what thing to move. So if you're looking at a sort of like a here and now transit chart, it will automatically convert it into one of these event rings. We don't know what kind of event it is because you're just sort of, at this point, you're just kind of like moving through time. So there'll be more calls to action to do things like, cast that chart as a particular kind of chart or to save it or whatever. But for now, it converts it into an event ring. It's no longer updating in real time, but it is now updating based on time movement. So I'm going forward by
You're
hour.
pressing keys on your keyboard to do this.
Exactly. I'm pressing the 4 key on my keyboard, which moves forward by hour.
And if you want to remember, go up there to our 2024 slide where we talked about moving through time with the keyboard.
Yeah.
We did that last time. So you're hitting the number 4. You're moving through
Well,
time.
now I'm hitting 5, so I'm going forward through time, and then if I hit Shift 5, then I will move backwards through time.
Ooh.
And as you can see, that's all working beautifully. We still don't have interaction in there yet, so like I can't select like the moon and the sun, for example. But what I can do is I can go, I'm just looking at the moon here in Gemini and the sun here in Leo. The moon is heading towards the sun. We're heading towards a new moon at the moment. And if I start moving forward by days, and then they're relatively close here. I can go a couple of hours, or moving forward by hour here, so you can see that the sun and the moon are kind of moving over here. And now they're pretty close, and then I can go forward by a minute, and boom, that's the exact new moon here in Snohomish, Washington. It'll be on the 4th of August at 4:11 a.m. And so you can now find the, for example, pre-natal syzygy. If that's something that you need to do. You could also just
Kids
sort of like
love finding the prenatal syzygy. It's their biggest.
exactly.
They're like, I love Nintendo, I love hula hoops, and I love prenatal syzygies.
Yeah. So now you can also, so if I go to my chart, for example, I can either do add a here and now ring. So this is the transit ring for right now. And if I have that transit ring for right now up, I can then move through time and it will turn that now ring into an event ring, just like we saw before. I can also just move through time. And if I just move through time, I'll get that event ring. So then I could, set this to here. Let's go back a few years. Set this to 2009, the 23rd of June, 2009. And then I could still add a here and now ring. And this is a little bit of a cluttered chart for us at the moment. As you can see,
Yes.
the minutes are kind of going over the line. So this is not a super usable chart, but it at least demonstrates that the functionality is there. It's like the fundamental principles are working correctly. Now it's just a matter of like, what do we need to do in order to make these charts, more usable? But this is here. We've got 3 rings. We've got a birth ring, an event ring, and a now ring. And so this is pretty awesome.
I love it.
I did I did remark to Jake yesterday about this work that I think I opened more tickets than I closed this cycle, because I ended up implementing bugs somewhat on purpose, because there was a few things that I sort of kicked down the road that I was like, okay, we need to track that this is an issue. But I'm going to just let it go for now, because I know that we need to fix it at some point, but I don't want to fix it right this minute. I want to keep going with because this was actually a pretty big throw of work, which is why it took almost the entire cycle. But there was also other things like this is a pretty good one, I think. Okay, yeah, just like the kind of fun things that come up in software engineering. So this is the cast ring chart, the cast ring form. And so if you come in here and you're like, oh, I want to do the 12th, the 13th, as you can see, none of this number is not updating. But if you see in the background here, the chart is moving. Why do you think that is?
You're capturing the event in the wrong place. That's what's happening.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not aware that the modal is up, and so these one you can't use the numbers 1 through 5 in entering date or time because they're actually modifying the chart.
We're actually going to require people to only have birthdays that begin or
6 through
end
0.
6 through 0. So I'm sorry
Yeah.
if you're born on the 6th of August. Ooh boy, I guess 857. No, 877 AD. You can use our software. Other than that, sorry, it's not going to work. Um, what? Thank you for that. That looks great. Is there anything else that you had learned from this situation that you want to kind of remind yourself, your future self about something that happened in this iteration, or anything that you think our lovely viewer would enjoy?
Mm. If you are a person like me who has a mind that tends to wander, let's say, they call this ADHD in the modern parlance, a creative mind, let's say, and you are working on something and you get into the groove of working on a thing, try to find ways to put things on the shelf, like acknowledge that, okay, this is something I need to do. And like whatever your system is for, like sometimes I just put little to do comments in the code. And then I have another thing that actually creates a list of like those to dos out of the code itself. But whatever the thing is that you're doing, just have something on the side that you could use to sort of capture things as they come up. And then you will, what's the thing that from getting things done? Um,
Yeah,
the mind
uh,
like water or something like that?
yeah, exactly. So it's your consciousness or your mind like water. So basically, you want
Yeah,
the stillness of a kind of a pastoral pond to wash over you.
yeah. That's very populist from geomancy, by the way. Anyway, yeah. So I like the if you're like really focused on something and you're really grooving with it, have something where you could just kind of like put those things off to the side, know that they're captured somewhere. You can come back to them later, but stay focused on the thing because it's very easy, I think, to kind of go down a bunch of different rabbit holes and be like, oh, man, it really bugs me that this is that this is working this way, or that I just introduced this new bug by the way that I've like implemented this, and so now I should just go fix that. But if you do that, then you've kind of lost the thread of the thing that you're working on. I think everybody, like any relatively seasoned engineer, has already probably figured these things out. But no matter what your field or discipline is, it's just a really good habit to be able to do. Like, I ran into something. I'm going to put it on the shelf for now. I know that it's captured. I know that I can come back to it, prioritize it later. But for now, I'm working on this.
I love that. And for as much as you are attributing that, like, you used a different term other than ADHD, but the kind of the wandering mind,
The
on
creative spirit.
the creative spirit, on the ability or the lack of ability to kind of capture everything. I've run into similar problems in my design work in this cycle, in this iteration, that I can also talk about because I'm working on probably the most difficult object in the entire system. I'll bring it up in a second. And I've had this same problem where every time I've kind of opened a little box, I'm like, I'm just going to do this one little thing here, and all of a sudden it is that box is very, very deep, and all of a sudden I have to say, like, you have to stop yourself from doing everything and say, I know that I'm introducing inconsistency, I know I'm introducing bugs, but I've captured those things because I can't do everything all at once all the time. Otherwise we'll never get anything done. But before I get to that, what I wanted to show you was the design work that I did. So Mr. Henry is sharing his screen because there's something wrong with my screen. I can't share it right now. What you're seeing on the left-hand side here is what's called a calls to action spec. What is a calls to action spec? This sounds really tedious and not very designy. And again, you're doing this thing, Jake, where you're designing with words. Why do we do this? The reason we do this is because behind every button, behind every keystroke, there's a reason why you do this. And it's so important for you to know why and for you to interrogate why somebody would do this, because you run into questions later around how something should work. And if you don't fully understand why, or like what someone's trying to achieve and why they're trying to achieve it, you can make bad decisions. So the first thing that we do here in the design spec is talk about value statements. Value statements say, as a persona, so let's go off the first one. As an electional astrologer, I want to increment or decrement time on an electional ring so that I can find the most perfect astrological conditions for my event. We didn't show this use case during Trey's presentation. We showed the second one, the quick casual astrologer, and we showed the fifth one, the natal astrologer. But once we start having a common language between Trey and myself and anyone else who wants to join this company one day, this starts to make sure that when we're not, we don't have to constantly have conversations with one another to know what we're trying to achieve together. So if that makes sense here. So like these are the value statements. And if you keep going down.
Can I make a quick comment on this
Sure.
too? Just because when I first saw this, I think I assumed sort of like that these personas map sort of like one-to-one to an astrologer, like an electional astrologer is a type of astrologer.
Yeah.
These things are not mutually exclusive. They all blend together. Like sometimes I'm a quick casual astrologer because of the action that I'm taking, not because that's defining the type of astrology that I do. So I just want to make sure that people are clear that it's like these personas aren't a one-to-one mapping to a person. They're indicative of the kinds of things that you're doing when you have that hat on, if that makes sense.
This is the cliche, right? Wearing many hats. Sometimes I wear a purple hat, sometimes I wear a black hat, sometimes I wear a white hat, sometimes I don't wear any hat. I do different things in different situations. That doesn't mean that I am a different person, but it does mean that I might have different objectives. If I'm doing electional astrology, I do one thing. If I'm doing natal astrology, I do a different thing. And I would use the same tools to do that thing, but they should act reasonably
for those cases,
in that objective,
for those contexts. Yeah.
So you keep going down, and then you start seeing the keyboard stuff. You might remember from a past episode we talked about foreign keyboards. You can look up there for that. That was a huge learning that we had. So these are the English QWERTY keyboard stuff. But if you keep going down, one day German, one day French, those things may be different. So we're just putting that in there to say, one day. And then I do these things called task flows, and I mostly do this for the benefit of Mr. Henry because he has a really hard time visualizing these things, and so I sketch these things as quick and rough as I can, so we can have a conversation around something material as opposed to just words. Anything you would like to say about these task flows?
Yeah, no, just that they're great. They really do help me because like when implementing. I mentioned at the beginning of the implementation demo that there is an algorithm that determines what ring to adjust when you're moving through time and what the various scenarios are for when you have multiple rings. And do you add a ring? Do you adjust a ring that's already available, etc.? And so there were lots of questions about this, and it also overlaps with like perspectives. It overlaps with other things about the chart and how the rings interact with each other. We haven't even gotten into aspects yet. So being able to understand, like have these sketches that take the more verbose wording associated with the feature or the descriptions associated with the feature and sort of concretizing it into like a if this then that kind of workflow is very useful for the implementation.
And to the point that you were saying, and the point that I was trying to say earlier, there's things in here that are unsolved that I really need to solve, but I'm like, I can't solve them right now. And if I solve all of the things, we'll never get anything done. So I solved this. The natal one is probably the weirdest one because if you move by day, you're probably doing a timing technique, but if you move by something else, you're probably not doing a timing technique. And we have to
day or hour actually.
It's day or hour. And so so here, like this one is crazy. And this one, I just said like, we really need to test this with somebody one day. Anyways, just to show you a little bit about like the level of complexity that has gone into how we even design these things. Oh, you're on the 2-ring thing. Oh yeah, we can. Sorry, I'm looking at Trey's screen at the same time here. So the 2 movable rings. So if got 2 rings that move, then there's this idea that like there's a controlling ring and this, and you get time controls. It's all. Yeah. But like again, we haven't implemented probably 30. We've probably only implemented about 35% of this stuff. 33%. There's all 2/3 that we still have to do here.
Yeah. Not all of which will maybe be done in the first version, like publicly
No.
available version of the software, but we know what it is. Like it's been, we've thought through things. We know how the pieces should fit together, or at least we have an idea of how they should fit together, and that idea might evolve over time. But we've done the hard work and you can see it already in the product that it appears to be relatively simple or relatively straightforward, yet it's doing a ton of stuff. It's already doing almost as much, minus some of the interactions that Urania does today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're barely scratching the surface of where we're going with Cosmic. So when it has that feeling of like, oh, this is like really simple and intuitive and it really makes sense, it's because of all of this, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's been a learning journey. It's been exciting. Design is fun. Technology implementing is fun. Love all of that. And I think we went through the learnings that we were going to do. So then, dear viewer, you waited this whole time. I'm going to do this for Trey as well. Again, we're going to go back here. One syllable, moon time wildness. One syllable apiece. I'll give you a clue. The first word begins with P. The second word begins with C. To you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's phase craze. Phase
Oh,
craze.
like a moon phase. Yeah.
Phase. Moon craze.
That's a tricky one because it's actually phase, but
I know. That's what I said. Start with B. What should the viewer do? You're out in nature. What should they do?
They should enjoy nature more.
You know what I would like you to do?
Go for a walk.
No. We already had to enjoy nature. I want you to take nature and assert yourself upon it. Why don't you like prune some bushes today? How about that?
Yeah. Go get some weeds.
Go get some weeds.
Whatever weeds are. Weeds.
Yeah,
just
whatever
being
weeds
the kind
are.
of plants
Get rid of them. Basically, take a plant out of the earth that you don't want anymore. All right, we love you very much. Take care. Have yourself a beautiful week. Have yourself a lovely weekend or whatever day you have watched this video. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.